The New York Post has informed me that having a pretty wife or a rich husband maximizes life. Study. Wow. I mean, I want to maximize life. Wait, what does that even mean? Does that mean I want to be happy? Because I want to be happy. I want a happy life. But am I pretty enough? Do I have to marry a rich guy? And also, how pretty is pretty and how rich is rich? And what if he's rich enough, but I'm not pretty enough? Is my life going to be maximized, but his isn't? And if that's the case, is he going to leave me? And if that's the case, is my life still maximized? So many questions from just one headline. If you have the same questions that I do, I have good news for you because I've looked into this research and I can tell you the TLDW of all of this is don't worry about it because it's pretty much all bullshit. Often good science writing is ruined by a bad headline, but in this case, the New York Post has really gone all out to produce both a bad headline and a worse article. They open their article with, "No one likes to admit they've settled in a relationship, and a new study shows that those who do are worse off," which is absolutely in no way true at all. It's just made up. The actual study is... well, it's exhausting. It should be simple, but instead it's absolutely exhausting. Basically, researchers at Florida State University examined 2 pre-existing databases of recently married couples, all heterosexuals, totaling about 231 couples at first. More on that in a minute. These couples first took surveys right after they got married. They got their photos taken, and then they completed surveys for, another 3 years, about 2 or 3 times per year for 3 years. At this point, you should already know that this study in no way talks about how partner choice might maximize our life, since it was only 3 years long. It can't even tell us how to maximize a long-term relationship. I mean, I've had relationships that lasted longer than 3 years, and I'm a giant fuck up. According to these surveys, neither the attractiveness of a person nor the social status of a person predicted anything about how happy the relationship was. But this study looked specifically at maximizers. That's actually a term psychologists use. People who you or I might just say are picky. They're the people who need to research every option before making a decision to make sure that it's the best decision. They're the person who just wants to pop along with you to the grocery store to pick up a new cereal, but then eventually you just have to leave them in the cereal aisle to go do the rest of your shopping while they compare nutritional facts and look up reviews on Amazon. And yes, that's where maximizing comes from in the New York Post headline. They took an adjective and they made it into a verb. Maximizing people is a term. This study has nothing to do with how to maximize. They might as well have said, read this study about picky people and then written a headline that says, having a sexy wife helps pick your life. What? Makes no sense. Exactly. Good job, New York Post. So the researchers thought, well, if picky people continue looking at other options even after they have made a purchase or made a decision, maybe that extends to marriage. And so maybe picky people would be more likely to remain happy in their marriages if their spouses have obviously superior traits to the other people they're comparing them to. And what's easier to see in terms of traits you would look for in a partner than physical attraction and wealth? As an aside, they measured physical attraction by having a couple of lab assistants sort through headshots and just rate how hot they were. They labeled this objective. I'm sorry, but if you're not considered attractive by a minimum wage lab flunky in Florida, then you're just not attractive. Deal with it. In order to get the results that they wanted, I'm sorry. Let me redo that. In order to do good science, they had to delete 33 couples for being over the age of 35. Why? Well, because physical attraction just doesn't matter once you're elderly like that, which, does answer at least one of my concerns. My picky boyfriend doesn't need me to be attractive because we're way too old for that. Woo! With that nasty business out of the way, they reran their calculations and they found, ta-da! They managed to get results that just barely, and I quote, trended towards significance. Is that significant? No, not really. But these results have definitely bought a bus ticket with a transfer that will eventually get them to significance one day. And really, what more can you possibly ask for in a scientific study? So what were those results exactly? Well, the results that trended towards significance were that picky men aren't actually happier with more attractive women when they get married, but they do get ever so slightly happier as time goes on. Again, up to 3 years and no further. Picky women aren't actually happier marrying men who have more money, but they get less happy at a slower rate over the next 3 years. Yay? So here we have a pretty boring effect based on a very small sample size, and they only got there by doing absolutely unspeakable things to the data. Like, remember, those 200 couples that were left, not all of them were picky, that was only a small percentage of them were maximizers. So this is a pretty small sample size with a pretty blah result. But none of that matters because someone at Florida State University wrote a good enough or bad enough, let's be honest, press release to get the New York Post to write absolute nonsense about this. Go science.